don't feel like you have to do everything alone. Ask for advice, ask for help, get guidance, ask those that have done it before, and listen. You don't have to take everybody's advice as kind of like that's the best way to do it, but ask around, because it's going to allow you to think and allow you to create more opportunities for yourself. All right. Welcome to the Brew. I'm your host, Valter Salamaki. I'm joined today by the managing partners of Free Logic. We got Luis, we got Nikhil.
Hello.
Today, it's just going to be us, the managing partners, but we're going to be talking about how to dominate with your digital strategy in 2021. But before we get started on the main topic, talking about digital marketing, digital strategy, quickly just going into some updates. So as you can see, we are streaming this live on both LinkedIn as well as on Twitch. On Twitch, we are working to get to Twitch affiliate. So if you're watching on Twitch, make sure to follow us and engage with our content. It will help us a lot as we are growing out this platform. And same thing on LinkedIn. Throughout this podcast, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot them in the chat. We're going to be answering questions live. So if you have any questions for a small business that your family might own, if you have any questions about what you should be studying for digital marketing or digital strategy or anything else for us, feel free to throw in the chat. We'll answer it live throughout the show. And also a quick update as for kind of what's going on internally within Free Logic. Right now, we're actually going through two massive projects. One of them is this Brew platform. So this is right now a web show. It is going to become a full platform. We'll do some more announcements about that as we approach November, but expect some big things coming in store in the next couple weeks, announcements-wise. And then as for Free Logic, we've been known as Free Logic Media, but right now we are starting the process of rebranding our company. And that's anticipated to start for the new year. So 2021 is going to be a extraordinary year for us as a team, everybody that's in this room. So we definitely appreciate those that have been a part of this journey and keep supporting us as we continue to grow both our consulting practice and this media platform. Obviously, I got to throw in there yesterday. So we're filming this right now live on a Saturday. This will come out obviously on a Wednesday. But the Lakers played yesterday. I had to throw that out there as being a sports enthusiast. I know all three of us are basketball fans. So the Lakers were supposed to win. It was supposed to be an easy dub.
I need to know. I need to know if you want me to go at this with all of the emotion that I truly have towards this, or do you want me to tone it down a little bit?
50%.
50%? That's still pretty high.
This is going to go on for a while, isn't it?
Dude, I don't think it's going to go on for a while. I want to say this.
Put a rant clock, please. Put a rant clock,
I want to say this. Look, this is my 2 cents before anything. These are my closing statements for the Lakers.
Hey, don't put anyone on blast. That's rude.
I'm going to.
Oh man, no, come on, man.
I have an equal, if not greater, platform than Snoop Dogg. So I think I should be the one to let people know what's going on. Look, man, I'm just so bummed. Like at the end of the day, that's really what it is, right? It's a somber day because I'm not gonna cuss. They lost in their Black Mamba jerseys. There was a first loss in the Mamba jerseys, which that hurts already. And then on top of that, it's like the last play. Look, man, the minute and I told you guys this already. I've yelled about this for the past 2 hours, I think. So I had a mini sort of get together with a few friends, just to watch the game. It was 4 people. Just to watch the game at my place. And the minute that they had the last possession and I saw who was going to be on court, I said, what in the hell is going on? Why is Markieff Morris and why is Danny Green on this court right now?
Look,
in Dwight Howard.
They're part of the team, okay?
Yeah, I know they're part of the team. Unfortunately, they're a part of the team. I literally, all of us said this. I'm not going to cuss. All of us said this
Tone
too.
Tone it down.
Damn it.
Tone it down.
All right.
Tone it down.
Okay.
All right. This is a hot take. This is a hot take.
I don't right now. I don't need this take right now.
This is a hot take. Okay. I'm a Lakers fan, and I've been a LeBron fan ever since I started watching basketball. But the fact that the Heat were injured, because of that and because they're recovering now, I'm okay with one extra game to make it more competitive. Okay.
Okay. There's competition, but there's winning a championship. If you gotta have an opportunity to win a championship, you don't alleviate it till game 6.
Anthony Davis, look, it was very unfortunate what happened to him when he got kneed in the ankle. Do you think he's at 100% right now?
No.
Absolutely not. LeBron James, bless his heart, put up a 40-point triple-double. A 40. This man wanted that ring yesterday.
All right, that's enough for the Lakers. As you can see, we're passionate about that. We're going to go into digital marketing. Don't worry. That's just the.
I was supposed to be wearing my tiny little childhood Kobe jersey right now as a joke, but instead here I am wearing a Canadian tuxedo.
All right. And then the other update that I want to quickly go out there is obviously right now we're in a presidential election. We just want to urge everybody, go vote. Early voting is now open in California.
Yep.
So if you're voting by mail, make sure to have the ballots dropped off at your earliest convenience, and really take this election seriously.
Absolutely.
Your voice matters. Whoever you're voting for, that's not the important thing here. The important thing here is that you actually vote and your voice is heard in democracy.
Absolutely.
So,
and can I just speak on that really quick?
Yep.
This is my first year doing mail-in voting, like ever. I did it because the obviously the pandemic. I don't want to have to go to a polling place and all this stuff. So I signed up for mail-in voting, and can I just say how like it's pretty great. Like normally what I do is like I'll research the propositions and I'll research the measures that are happening locally and all this kind of thing. But then when I get to the actual polling place, I always get like flustered. I'm always just like, oh, maybe I didn't do enough research. Maybe like, oh crap, like what do I actually do? Who do I vote for? What's going on here? Mail-in voting is fantastic. I've been like, I've been using that little like sample ballot, and I've been like filling it in, but like every single proposition, every single candidate, with the exception of the presidential candidate, that one's a real quick check for me. But it's every single other candidate, every single proposition and measure that's happening. I've been doing research on it. I have been. Yeah. I'm fortunate enough. I know kind of acquaintance level. Abigail Medina, who is running in San Bernardino. So I'm like, okay, she's kind of cool. But like, I still researched. I still looked at her opponent. I did the things that I didn't have time to do when I'm just at the polling place, or the things that maybe I wouldn't have done previously. So it's cool. I mean, it's my first time doing voting by mail, and I honestly like it. I like that I have time to sit down and do some research.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's important that voting is easy to do. Because as a democracy, we should easily be able to voice our opinion and make our vote count. So I mean, one thing that kind of lead off into what we'll talk a little bit about next week. There's technology that can be used to help with voting and voter fraud and all these things. And that's an important conversation we'll talk about next week, as that's very much up in conversations right now about voter security, about foreign interference and all these things. So we'll talk a little bit about the technology that can help alleviate those problems. But definitely, once again, go vote, have your voice heard. That's more important than ever before right now. Great. So going into some quick takes before we go into the overall topic of digital strategy. The very first quick take topic is on iPhone. So I will leave it to you guys to discuss this, to be honest, because I have not had an iPhone. I will never have an iPhone. Actually, I will never say never, but I'm not the good Apple person. While both you have, or you're all Apple, but
I am all Apple. Yeah, I am all Apple
so
nowadays.
You can take this away then.
Yeah. So this is more just to, it's happening. I mean, normally it should have already been announced and pre-order should have already been going up, but because of the pandemic, it got pushed back. So last month's event was solely about iPads and OS and different things like that, whereas this supposedly is going to be specifically for hardware, because they're no longer having to discuss any kind of operating systems or anything like that. So I'm excited to see what they come up with. I'm getting to the point now. I don't know, Nikhil, if you can attest to this. I'm getting to the point in my life where I no longer have the like immediate emotional need to be like, oh no, iPhone's coming out, I'm gonna get it.
I was gonna say that, or something similar, because I mean I was never like, I need to get that iPhone right now and wait in line for like 10 hours at the Apple store, but I think I was always fascinated by the next iPhone coming out, and now I guess it's like I don't care as much. It's more of like, and weirdly enough, I don't care about my phone as much anymore, because everything I do is on my laptop, right? Absolutely. Like I invested in this laptop and it's going to last me a while. My next phone, I'm probably going to get a new phone, probably an iPhone next month, but like I'm most likely not going to get the iPhone 12. I'll probably get like the SE or something, because I don't really use my phone that much. The only reason I'm switching, I have a Samsung right now. The only reason I'm going to switch back is for the convenience, because I need it now. Like, time is everything for me, whereas it wasn't like a few years ago. But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure, because like high school to like even like 2 or 3 years ago, me was just like every new, like, obviously like iPhones go in the TikTok pattern, with most things update in that way, even like processors and things like that, where it's like big update, small incremental update, big update, small incremental update.
Yeah.
So I was never a fan of getting the small incremental updates. I was always a fan of getting like the iPhone 6, the iPhone 7, the iPhone 8. I was never getting like the S variants. But I've had the iPhone 10 now since they came out. I got that on launch. And I've just been, it's like, I think Apple just messed up and made a really, really good phone as like their 10th anniversary phone. So I'm on the fence. I'm like 50-50 right now. I'm 50%. I'm going to get it depending on how this event goes and what specs are there. Like, things I really want that I know I'm not going to get, but things that I really want are USB Type-C charging.
Yeah.
I know for a fact I'm not going to get that, but that would be so convenient, especially like you have USB-C. Like, you,
For sure,
at this
yeah.
point, you're all USB-C.
When it's getting standardized, there is a probability it could happen.
I don't think it's going to happen this time.
Yeah,
I
I
think
saw
maybe-
that it would.
Maybe. That's the thing. I don't know. I have the event still, it's being held on Tuesday, the 13th, whatever, Tuesday or Wednesday.
Tuesday.
So USB-C would be fantastic. A high refresh display, even like 90 hertz. I'm okay with not getting 120. Like how Samsung has like 120 hertz displays. Their iPads have 120 hertz displays. They're fantastic. They're really cool. But I'm okay with some sort of faster than 60 hertz polling rate, you know? And then I wanted to redesign, like a really cool redesign, and I think it's going to happen. So my favorite iPhone, the one that holds like a soft spot in my heart for some reason, I don't know why, is the iPhone 4 design, that squared, like rectangle flat on the sides. And it's looking like it's going to be that again.
Yeah.
So if it has USB Type-C, high refresh display, and it has the look that it's probably going to have, really just those two things, I'll for sure get it. Like, if it has USB Type-C and a fast refreshing display,
Yeah.
100%.
I'm sure there'll be a Black Friday deal or something like that. So.
Exactly. No, I'm getting it like on Apple. I have that thing where you like Apple upgrade anytime thing.
Yeah.
Where you pay like $50 a month and you get an iPhone whenever the hell you want it.
Nice. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing. It's directly through Apple.
Okay.
So I'm probably gonna get it. But if not, I'm just gonna get a new battery for my iPhone 10. Like, those are the two directions I'm going for. Either I'm gonna get a new iPhone and then chuck my iPhone 10 into the Marianas Trench, or I'm gonna put a new battery in my iPhone 10.
Good move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good move.
Solid. Yeah. Still not gonna get iPhone, but
You will.
no,
Eventually.
One
What do you think? 2 years, 3 years?
Maybe 3.
I think it's
Look at 3.
I give you.
I think the fact that he convinced me to get an Apple Mac or laptop
but
in
you're a
the first
designer.
place.
That's different. I know application.
Hey, I can design on Windows too.
Yeah, but not
Yeah, but not as
efficiently,
like
not
here's the thing.
creatively.
Like, looking
Yeah, I can.
at like a Windows laptop and then looking at your laptop. What would you rather look at?
This.
Exactly. This is for me processing GIS. That is for you to make a dope website. So we're gonna keep.
All right, yeah, okay, right,
We're gonna go to
All right,
continue on.
from Apple, let's go to Microsoft now.
Yes.
So as for Microsoft is allowing more people to work from home permanently. And I think this is a move that majority of tech companies are following right now.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this previously.
So we talked about it, how they're looking at hybrid models and looking at how to downsize their overhead costs. There's no point of having these massive, workspaces, facilities, when people can work at home. But I think the one part is not everything can be done at home, right? You have to have some things you can do at home, your own personal work. There's no reason to be at an office to do that. But then there's collaborations, there's meetings, there's projects you need to work on. Those are things that you have to do in person because it's very hard to collaborate over Zoom to knock out a proposal for a client or knock out a strategy for a client, for example. So what they're looking at is a 50% work remote model. So 50% of the time, 50% of the week, they would be working at home. 50% of the time, they would be in the office. And that's the model that they're trying to build out. And honestly, on my own personal opinion about that, I think that's what almost every company should do. Obviously,
Yeah,
depending on what the job is. Some jobs that's impossible.
Yeah,
but
hardware designers, you're working in the office, buddy. I'm sorry.
yeah, you have to be. And if it's with like certain IP, like you might not trust employees enough to have it outside the office.
Yep.
I definitely get those. But overall, it should be done remotely majority of the time as you can work. COVID is going to exist, like it or not, for at least another year before things fully start kind of opening back to normal. So it's important for companies to realize that and act now on these things because it's going to impact another whole fiscal year of their business.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think Microsoft's doing a good model. Any other comments from you guys?
Yeah, I think like given that Microsoft like specializes in like collaboration tools, Microsoft Office, Microsoft Teams and stuff, I think it's a really good opportunity also since they're kind of going half remote themselves to really show the world how, yes, we're in this like dramatic change, but it is so possible to make it work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it can be a marketing stunt too, and that's not really what I'm going for, but at the same time, it's like I think a really great opportunity for Microsoft.
Yeah. And I mean, Teams is decent. I still prefer Slack.
Yep.
Over Teams, but
Sorry, go
no,
ahead.
but I was gonna say like the thing is like you have Slack integrations and that's all fine and dandy. But the fact that with the Microsoft like Work Suite, like that's all like super integrated. Like Outlook is super integrated with Teams, is super integrated with Office, is super integrated with everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool.
Yeah. So I use that. So I think right now in our situation, Slack is fine.
Fantastic. Yeah.
I think when I was in the Microsoft environment and stuff, I think it was amazing actually. Like
For productivity.
just like yes, they took a note from Google Docs and slides and stuff, and they introduced collaboration with live collaboration within their tools.
Yeah.
The file storage is awesome within Teams.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about
efficient.
OneDrive.
I think that's the best part. Like I kind of wish our Google Drive was literally inside of Slack.
Yes. Yeah. I see what you're saying. There's a way to do it, but there's like it's a runaround kind of way. Oh no, it's only with Dropbox, I think.
Yeah.
With
You
Slack.
can do it with Google Drive, but you have to have the premium version to do that.
I actually think they're rebranding Google Drive to Google Workspace to kind of address this. I just saw something about it.
I mean,
a
if
few days
Google
ago.
made a legitimate competitor to Microsoft's
I think they
Work
are,
Suite,
yeah.
then hey man,
Yeah.
let's think about that. You know, honestly. Hey, Google, if you're listening, we'll test that. Who's the CEO of Google right now? Of Alphabet?
I get their name.
It's not Sundar, right?
Yeah,
it
it is
Sundar
Sundar.
Pichai?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's still him. Yeah.
yeah, it's still him.
yeah.
Sundar.
Yeah, Sundar Pichai.
Yep.
Sundar, if you're listening, please let us beta test your new software.
Let us alpha test, and
Oh,
then
yeah,
we'll
let
do
us
beta
alpha
test,
test.
and then we'll integrate that directly into our.
Please and thank you.
I mean, our we're not going to pay a lot, but I mean.
Oh, we're not gonna pay anything, but we're an alpha tester. Why would we pay anything for that?
No, I'm just saying when we actually buy the
Oh,
software,
oh.
like our whole suite
Yeah.
size will be like max $100 a month. So
Yeah, it's very true.
all right. So next one is quick take is sad news, which
Very
is
sad.
after 36 years in the community, Riverside, at least for UCR students specifically, but in Riverside in general, it's a Riverside icon. The Mad Platter has permanently closed.
This
so
one sucks.
That like ruined my
Like
morning.
it sucks, dude. It's gone. And here's the thing.
You should first define what Mad Platter is so people really understand.
What isn't it? You know, it's like it was such a cool place to go. So, vinyl's making a resurgence, and the Mad Platter was, I think, the premium location for the Inland Empire to come get vinyls.
Yep.
It was either you would come here, or there's like there's a small boutique one in like the Upland Rancho Cucamonga area, but it's tiny compared to the Mad Platter. I know that's how I got into vinyls like a few years ago. I walked into the Mad Platter and I said, oh cool, look, there's a CD that I really like, and I bought it, and then I bought a record player. But besides that, it was, you could buy movies, you could buy art, you can buy CDs, you could buy cassettes, you could buy fun little trinkets, you could buy books. It was just a space to go to just kind of see what's happening in I think in creative entertainment, whether it was through books, through music, or through art. And then on top of that, it was a really cool space for the community, because in the back wall, if you had a show coming up, if you had anything at all, even like UCR researchers would put like calls to action. They'd be like, hey, if you want to be a part of this research study, pull a little tab and call this number, email us here. It was a very cool community space that is no longer there, and it's awful, honestly. Like it's unfortunate, and I hope that the owners of the Mad Platter know that the community is very sad, and I hope that they can, maybe after this pandemic is done and under control, they can think about opening up another shop, hopefully at that same location, because it sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, and that's what COVID is doing to a lot of small businesses, which is why we're going to be talking about digital strategy today, because COVID has pushed people to the online presence, and Mad Platter is one of those organizations that didn't really have like a e-commerce feel or anything like that. But that's also hard because the reason why you went there is for the atmosphere inside of it, the community orientation. So
you go get some boba, and then you go into Mad Platter, and then you just kind of hang out, you know?
Yeah, and check out vinyls and all that, yeah. But going to the next topic for kind of Inland Empire news-wise is Cal State San Bernardino got $10.5 million grant from the NSA for cybersecurity. I think this one was a very interesting one because Cal State San Bernardino does actually have a pretty good cybersecurity department.
Has a really, really good one.
Yeah, they have
top in the U.S.
Yeah, because a lot of my coworkers at Esri that were in the like cybersecurity side were from CSUSB, so that was pretty interesting. But I read a little bit about this grant and kind of what they're focusing in on. But I think the reason why this is such big news is because what's actually happening at CSUSB, not just for this grant and their focus on cybersecurity, but they built out a first entrepreneurship school in the Inland Empire. And it's one of the major entrepreneurial schools in the entire United States. It's a hidden gem. And as you can see, they're putting more and more investment into these programs around CSUSB. So I think that's actually a really important thing to kind of follow as that university grows, because there's a lot of potential that's now coming out of the IE. And as you can see, people are investing back into the Inland Empire. So that's a great sign.
Yep.
Any final comments from you guys before we go into the main conversation for today?
In regards to the
Cal State?
Yeah, I think it's cool.
The Inland Empire's coming.
Yeah, seriously.
It's growing.
IE's growing.
I know. I like honestly didn't know much about CSU San Bernardino until like more recently, until I heard about the entrepreneurship school and now this cybersecurity program. So I think that's huge. Like schools like UCR, San Bernardino, and stuff in this area, with more developments, more investments, and stuff like this. That's honestly fantastic news for the whole area, the economy, everyone in it.
Absolutely.
All right, so now go into the main topic for today, which will just be a lot of conversations that come straight from the back of our minds just because we do this day in, day out. But we're going to be talking about how to dominate your digital strategy in 2021. The reason why we're talking about 2021 is there's a lot of trends that are now coming to fruition, which if you want to make a strategy for 2021, you got to act now. You got to start building out a strategy in the next couple months so you can start executing it once you hit 2021. You don't want to start building out your strategy when you hit the new year. You want to have it ready to go, written out, and start executing this day one, January 1st. You want to be able to
being able to not just think about your strategy, but also think about your tactics at the end of the day. You know, like not just high level, what do we want? How do we want to get it? No, you have to think about, okay, we know what we want. We know what we want to get. Now let's figure out, you know, very easy to figure out deliverables and objectives that we can hit and do to actually get those goals.
Yep. So I think to get started, for those that are listening that might not know what digital strategy is, digital strategy is, well, obviously it's your digital presence and how you're leveraging digital and your company's strategy, your company's objectives and how you actually accomplish them. So a digital strategy, what you have to look at is all the individual pieces on the digital domain that create an impact into your business strategy. So you have to think about your website. How is your website being created? Your search engine optimization. How are you being found on Google? How are you running ad campaigns? How are you using things like Facebook and Google advertisements? You have to think of your social media. You have to think about writing blogs. There are so many pieces that come into a digital strategy. So obviously we're not gonna go into every element today, but what we'll talk about is the things that you should focus in on right now so that you're best prepared to build out a digital strategy for organizations. So the very first thing, what a small business should focus on going into 2021. And the first thing we have on here really is continued learning, because if you want to get into digital strategy, there's so many resources that exist.
A ton.
So many. And then they're free. Yeah. That's the biggest part. They're free. And if you want to pay for some courses, they're also very affordable. They're like $100 for an exam. So the very first one that was we have right here is the LinkedIn Learning in general. So have either of you guys used LinkedIn Learning for anything?
Yeah, kind of. But LinkedIn Learning do they have some free stuff? I think you have to.
So technically you have to be a part of premium.
Yeah.
There are some resources that are free, but the courses in general, you can either have LinkedIn Premium, which is $30 a month, or you can pay for the course outright. There's
Yeah.
2 options there.
Yeah. So in that bucket of like you kind of have to pay a little bit is LinkedIn Learning, Skillshare, Udemy, right?
I will say as well that the courses normally cost the price of 1 month of premium, and I think that's for a reason.
Yeah, they're pretty affordable. Good
yeah.
price.
So like
and stuff,
60 bucks.
No, like $30 for a course, 30, 40 bucks. So basically they make you go like, you can buy this course, or you could just pay for premium and get access to all the courses. I think that's their model that they're trying to go for.
Yeah. Some companies sponsor it too.
Yeah.
Deloitte did. So I took a couple of courses on UX through that. But yeah, have you guys used LinkedIn Learning, Skillshare, Udemy, any of those?
I've used Udemy and then Masterclass because they had that deal
Yeah,
for
Masterclass.
the Masterclass.
I missed that deal.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was.
you did?
It
Yeah, I
was,
did.
I mean,
was
I
in that
warned
account.
everybody. I told everybody, you got to do it. You
I
got to
forgot
do it.
what I was doing, that I was busy that day, but I didn't get to looking at my notifications until like 11 at night, and I wasn't home. And then I was just like, I'll get home before midnight. And then I got home at like 11:55, and it was like too late. I missed it by like maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, because
Okay.
Masterclass, honestly, that out of these, I honestly think is the best one. The reason why is because LinkedIn Learning is, I haven't done any LinkedIn Learning, so I can't talk to that. But as for Udemy and Skillshare, they tend to be like just very static courses that have been created, and you go step by step and someone's talking. It's not very engaging. They might be experts in their field, don't get me wrong, but it's very dry content. It's hard to kind of get through it and really digest what it's talking about. Versus Masterclass, it's very interesting because you actually get those that are the top dogs in the areas that they're teaching and talking about their craft. So I listened to one on advertisements and creatives. It was really, really fascinating to kind of break down like how they create like the Geico commercials and like the whole caveman, like these things that annoyed me when I watched them because I really hated those commercials, but I understand why they did it now because it gets people to talk about them and the creative behind it, how you remember the brand and all these things. It's very unique to hear their perspective of why they created it, because as a consumer, we see these advertisements all the time, and I personally don't like a lot of them.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that the impact they're trying to get across didn't work on me.
Speaking of which, the next time I see that State Farm ad of that one guy trying to be Chris Paul, I'm gonna lose my mind.
Yeah,
It's
you see,
like during the NBA Finals. Like,
he was Carlton in Fresh Prince. I forget his name now.
yeah.
Whatever.
Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks a lot, especially with like advertising and like that memorability. Yeah, is that the right word? Yeah, that's like more important than anything. Like you could have like something that's like either you have something that's like so good that you can't deny how good it is, and that is what sticks in someone's brain, or you have something that's so weird and so unique, and that's what sticks in someone's brain. Like I always think of that weird Taco Bell ad with like the puppy monkey dog, or is that what it is?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the puppy monkey dog. That to me, like during the Super Bowl when that came on, I was like, "What the hell is this?" I was like, "Who is this for?" And then it was either Taco Bell or Mountain Dew because they're both basically the same company. And it
Yeah, it
the
was
way that they
Mountain Dew,
advertise, the way they advertise, and I was like, well, okay. I mean, hey, I still eat at Taco Bell, so maybe it worked. I don't know. I remember it every time I go to Taco Bell, though. I think about the puppy monkey dog.
There you go. So yeah, so that's I think a very important thing with if you do paid courses, definitely look at things around your specific skill sets, but look at who's teaching.
Yeah.
That's always like my whole thing is when I choose anything I'm paying for, who's the person actually giving that instructions? What have they done? How can they teach it? And just because they're successful doesn't always mean they're a good teacher. That's also an important thing there.
Yeah.
But to tie into kind of more paid stuff, books. I mean, we don't really like.
Oh,
we're not
books are dude.
books. I used to think talking about overrated, underrated. I thought they were super overrated before, but now I realize how underrated they
Oh
are
my
because
goodness, yeah.
reading books, for example, like Crushing It by Gary Vee, and like reading books tied into like extreme ownership and all these things we talked about before, and Contagious, and reading books about marketing and business strategy.
The Dip by Seth Godin is like still like, mwah.
Yeah, and
Like that's such a good book.
Yeah.
For anyone doing business, you know,
that
entrepreneurship.
one at 0 to 1, like there's, and what we'll do is we'll probably start tying some recommendations into these episodes that we talk, but reading books as well. If you're trying to build out a digital strategy, reading from these individuals that are well known in their spaces allows you to see how you can change your business activities very quickly. Because I think one part is people try to, they're so caught up in everything they do in business operations, and that tends to happen as a business owner or even as a student. If you're trying to get into it, you're so focused on your classes that you ignore external pieces of information that you could be getting from somebody else. And they're guiding you through that process and helping you do it better. So definitely read books. And then as for certifications, if you're really trying to get into digital marketing, for free certification, you can get the Google Analytics. So the entire Google Garage, digital garage, there's so many certifications you can get.
You can also take courses.
Yeah, you can take
full-blown courses.
Yeah, I think I don't know if they've been released, but I remember seeing at like in the middle of like the lockdown and stuff that Google was releasing even more stuff. Like I know they had like UX stuff coming out and just like really good stuff. So
right now, like on my to-do list, because we bring this up every week it seems like now, but like learning Python, they released a machine learning
that was
course.
the other one, yeah.
And that thing apparently is like amazing, like
And
really
free, right?
really good. Yeah, I haven't started yet because I haven't gotten that far into learning about like the basics of machine learning and stuff like that. So that's like down the line for me, but it's bookmarked already.
Yeah. So, I mean, bunch of free resources around digital marketing in other areas. So, for example, I took a course, Google, tied in with Coursera on augmented reality. And I learned how to create an AR system from that course. And that was also free. So if you're really focused in on building a digital strategy and understanding these things like analytics, SEO, ads, that might feel very daunting because they're very complicated topics.
Yeah.
Start with Google. Start with YouTube. Start with these free platform resources to gather that information, or talk to us. I mean, we're more than happy to support you as well, but that's where you should get started and invest some time into that, because if you want to build a digital strategy, you have to understand these things behind the scenes that are happening so you can actually masterfully put it together into a plan. Because as I brought up before, a digital strategy is all the activities on the digital presence or digital front, digital medium, to solidify your business strategy. So you have to think of, okay, I want to increase revenues, I want to increase sales, I want to get more brand impression, people know about my business. Then you use digital strategies to make that happen. And it's not just a simple website or running ads. If you do one thing in a silo, it doesn't work.
Yeah, and I think you touched on a really important point here. And I think if there was one thing that we could tell anybody about like how to dominate digital strategy, it's this idea of like, if you're an entrepreneur, like obviously everyone tells you like, you know, entrepreneurs are different. They're, you know, they think different, all this stuff. Like really at the end of the day, what that means is entrepreneurs can just do anything and everything. Like you have this mentality of like, if I go work at a job, then I have like, this is my job. Like I am, like when you're adult, I am a UX designer. You know, like that is my sole purpose at this job, UI, UX, figure that out. That's what I'm getting paid to do. Whereas when you're doing entrepreneur stuff, like everything gets opened up. You're doing UI, UX, you're doing website design, you're doing client meetings, you're doing strategizing business, you're doing rebranding. You're like, I can go on and on and on and on. You're doing accounting, you're doing all the financial books.
Proposals, team building.
Exactly.
Hiring.
Everything, dude. So it's like that I think is the point that you're touching on, Val, where it's like, yeah, you can, if you focus on like you can focus on getting certificates, focus on getting this, but at the end of the day, focus on building yourself a well-rounded kind of intelligence around the strategy that exists. Because if you know something about the strategy, that allows you to input it into your own situation and look at it from your own lens. But you can't do that without knowing the strategy. So take some courses, read some books, and just start crushing it at whatever you want to do. But that doesn't start until you cannot crush the thing that you do not know anything about. So if you want to be the next Gary Vee, like learn strategy, learn social media strategy, learn from him. Like he puts everything out there. So like learn from him and then do what he's doing, but then do it better, you know?
That's a great book, Crushing It.
Yeah.
I smiled when you said it because I just remembered that I gave him that on when he graduated, and we had just like started Free Logic Media, I think, and I got it for myself too, and I was starting my full-time job, so and I was like reading this on flights, so yeah, no, fantastic book. I think it's funny because Gary himself says he doesn't like to read and stuff, but he puts it all in a book. But his podcast is fantastic too. His YouTube videos. He's just a genius when it comes to marketing, digital marketing. So definitely recommend looking at his content, learning from his strategies and stuff, because we've definitely been inspired by some of them and use them ourselves. So.
Absolutely. And I think kind of touching on books again, it's something that it's weird. Like I didn't think about books until you said it right now, but it's one of those things where like, oh yeah, like that's like such an easy kind of avenue, because there's a lot of ways you can go about it with books. And I mean, I have my way that I like to read books and decide what my next book is going to be. I'm sure you two can kind of speak on it as well. But I mean, like, I started reading books about business strategy and then about psychology of decision making, and then that rabbit hole eventually, hopefully, leads you to like the dude who created, or the person who created the entire idea.
Yep.
So I mean, like, I'm very proud of it, but like I've read all the books that Richard Thaler has put out, because he's the guy who created behavioral economics. Like that dude's an absolute monster. Like, you learn about psychology, and you learn about why people make the decisions that they make, and how it affects businesses and how it affects all this stuff. Like, that's how you get to it. But you don't just go, I'm gonna go read some Richard Thaler books today. Like, you have to first read Crushing It. And then go, ooh, that's really cool how people make that decision, and then that leads you to another book, and then another book, and it's this, hopefully, this windfall effect where one book isn't the end, where you start learning actually what you want to go into and what you want to focus on and what you want to learn, and then you learn nothing.
I feel like we should just, like, right now create just like a list of like books that we recommend.
We could do,
we got
like,
Crushing It,
yeah,
0 to 1.
So my favorite, I have two. If I had to give them, Dip by Seth Godin. I've read it like 2 or 3 times. It's a super short book. The Dip, excuse me, by Seth Godin, and then Misbehaving by Richard Thaler.
Okay.
Those are my 2 like reads.
I think on the UX website design end of things, I'd recommend Don't Make Me Think. Can't remember the author's name, but Don't Make Me Think, really good book. It's more focused on illustration, but it's really easy to read, and just understanding how usability on websites and apps and mobile websites works. So definitely good.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the books I'd recommend for anybody who wants to get into entrepreneurship, marketing, business strategy, lean startup. You need to learn that. That's where it should start. You need to understand that philosophy behind it.
Yeah.
0 to 1, understanding how to make a scalable organization and how to leverage your network to build a company. The Art of the Start. That's a really, really good book. That's by Gao Kawasaki. And then Rethink, Reinvent, Reposition. That's for strategy. That's going to teach you how to take existing businesses and make them more powerful into the future. That's what we do a lot with traditional small businesses. And then Contagious.
Ooh, yes.
Contagious is probably one of the only books I read for marketing
that
I really enjoyed. That
Yeah.
wasn't dry, and the reason why is Contagious teaches you something called steps, and I think this is an important thing for anybody who wants to win in digital marketing and digital strategy. Is you have to think of something called steps, which is you need to, whenever you're making a digital strategy or how to capture an audience, they go through a process. And we talked about this last week with Jonathan Lin, Professor Jonathan Lin from UCR. Is it starts with awareness, then you go to consideration, then you make a purchase, then you have retention or getting them to repeat that purchase or that activity, and then you make them an advocate. So the idea of Contagious is how do you get people from the awareness of your brand to an advocate as quickly as possible using something called steps, which is the first S stands for social currency. So creating things like reward systems, something that makes people want to repeat and create social value for themselves, something that they can share out. We're social creatures. Yep. So if we do something we did an accomplishment, that's why people share it on LinkedIn. That's why people share it on Instagram. So you want to create that social currency. The T is triggers. So their example was Kit Kat did this massive campaign where they had their sales were going down, and they realized that why is it going down? We need to complement it with something. So they started a campaign Kit Kats with coffee. So they try to make a trigger effect. So when you had your coffee in the morning, you wanted a Kit Kat. So they're trying to use psychology to get you. So every single time you poured a cup of coffee, you're like, I need a Kit Kat. And their Kit Kat sales dramatically increased.
Interesting.
So that was one of the case studies they talked about in the book. Then of course, E is emotion. That's probably the most important thing. You have to create emotion, positive or negative. You have to create emotion, and that's one thing I gotta give Trump. He's very good at creating emotion, whether it be from hate, whether it be from
he's good at making people vote.
yeah. I mean, either way, but like that's one thing I do have to give it to him is that he is able to create that emotion. That's why people talk about him. So that's once again, it kind of shows why that's such a powerful thing in this concept of steps. Yeah. The next P is for something called public. So public is what Apple does. So as you notice, like the logos that they put on the back of laptops, it's not to face you, it's to face the person that's looking at your laptop.
Yep.
So by putting stickers, putting content out there that people can, every single time we have a coffee cup and, branding, simple things like this.
That's branding, baby.
This is, even though we're changing our logo, but
This isn't going to be here forever.
But that's the idea of public. Then you have practical, and practical is you're actually giving practical value to people. So information that matters. That's like action to create impact. So as we're right now talking about digital strategy for businesses, we're trying to give practical value that you can actionable plan based off of. And the last S, my favorite part of steps, is stories. Everything should be story driven. That's what gets things to be contagious. People want to share it. People share stories. They don't sell products and services. That's why Nike is the company it is today, is because they build stories around everything. Their entire strategy is getting influencers that have strong stories. Their social ad campaigns are amazing because they tell a story every single time. They're pushing the boundaries, pushing their brand.
Yeah.
So anybody who's thinking about making a digital strategy, follow those steps and think of the activities behind each one. And by that already, you really have at least the framework of what you need to do for digital strategy. But yeah, I mean, that was a little tangent based off books, but a little bit of side tips on that.
It's powerful. You know what I think we should do, and I'm going to say this live, so we have some fire under our butts to get it done, is do like a article.
Whoa. Oof. That didn't sound good.
Scared the bejesus out of me.
You guys good?
You everything all right? Okay.
It's just tripods falling off screen. We're good.
It's very jealous. So starting an article, or like that is constantly updated of like books that we're reading under specific topics. Because I mean, right now I'm not reading any business development books, but I am reading habit formation and habit keeping books. So I read the 7 something habits for successful people. I think
I'm reading Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. Really good. Definitely recommend it.
Yes. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I read that one. Who's the author? Stephen Covey. Yeah. Stephen Covey. That's the author for that. I read real quick, The Power of Habit. That book was fantastic. Like, I super recommend that book.
Yep.
That was so far it's been the only habit forming book that made me cry. So The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And so actually I just ordered Atomic Habits. I just ordered Atomic Habits by Charles Clear, and I'm picking that up this week. So
nice.
Bookshop, fantastic, man. I'll plug them again, dude. But go to Cellar Door Books in Riverside. They're more expensive, but it's not Amazon.
Noted.
Don't give Bezos any more money.
Support local businesses.
Support local businesses. I will gladly pay another $10 for a book if it means that I'm supporting that family and not giving Jeff Bezos more money.
Real quick aside, got a comment by Jonathan Farjo. I worked with him at a Notion, actually. He was leading the UX team. Hey, Jonathan. Nice to see you after a really long time. Hope you're doing well. We should catch up. That's awesome. I think keep an eye out for like the Free Logic
book
club list thing. I think that'd be pretty awesome. But that campaign that you reminded me of, I showed it to you yesterday. Burger King did something really cool. Have you guys heard of Stevenage FC Football Club?
No.
Exactly. So they are literally at the bottom of UK's like bottom football league, right? Like I think
Premier League?
under the Premier League.
I was going to say they're definitely not in the Premier League. Then.
Yeah, they're not in the Premier League. They're like 1 or 2 leagues under it, and they're at the bottom of that.
Okay.
So Burger King was like
Bush League, pretty much.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but Burger King was like, okay, how do we get our logo into the FIFA game, right? And guess what? Stevenage, even though they're all the way dead bottom, they are still in the game. So they sponsor Stevenage, have their logo on the shirts, and then they created this campaign basically where they told people, have you heard of Stevenage? No? Yeah, I didn't think so. How about this? Build a fantastic team on like create your own team mode with Stevenage. And then for every goal or like penalty kick or whatever, there's like different rewards and stuff. That thing took off.
That is so smart.
The thing took off, right? And like Burger King
man.
sales went up. Stevenage jerseys sold out.
Oh my gosh.
They're still at the bottom of the league, but yeah, no, I think that's just like really good.
That's so smart. The reason why is because the one thing I actually do want to talk about, I mean, we're going to go into right now about the trends in marketing. Video games are the biggest medium to get in front of an audience between the ages of 16 and 24. One of the biggest, like it's bigger than social media. The gaming market is billions of people around the world all playing video games.
It's billions of dollars.
So I know one thing that they've been pushing for, but video game industry has been pushing back, and I'm happy about this, is like putting like advertisements like in games. For example, you're playing Apex and you see a Coca-Cola commercial. I'm throwing Apex out there because I know our seasoned Apex player over here, Nick, is so.
We should have a camera for Nick.
I know, I just
honestly
spilling backwards. But yeah, the biggest thing there is we're playing video games. And advertisement really hasn't got into video games. Like, once again, I'm happy about that. But I think if they...
Obama did that.
Yeah.
With Burnout Paradise, a bunch of the racing games.
He
for selection.
He did. And that's exactly kind of where the pushback started happening, because people didn't want to see those kinds of advertisements in it. But I think the important part is if they integrate in a way like this, right? If you're a smart company and you... Look, I can sponsor something in real life that gets translated into a video game. Now I can get my brand there, and you hijack the presence behind the game. And trust me, FIFA players love finding the underdogs and beating their friends with it.
100%.
So whenever I'm playing with my friends who've never played FIFA before, I think I did this to you, actually.
I did play FIFA though, so that's even I just embarrassed myself.
I literally will pick the worst possible team. Like, I literally go to the rankings. What is the worst team? And I'll pick that and allow them to use somebody like Real Madrid or
like
Juventus or Chelsea or
like
whatever, just to have just like banter and fun. That's the part of FIFA. So I think that's where they tied into behavioral economics, as we're talking about, and tying into these things that what people tend to already put their time into, and then create that social currency with these point systems. That is so smart, because that is a campaign that major corporations tend to oversee. Yeah. Because they're going to be like, oh, we're going to do our traditional marketing strategy. We're going to have this. Here's our display ads. Here's our brochures. Here's the strategic partners we have. Then there's companies, and I'm sure they got an ad agency to do that, to be honest. Wait, what?
That video? Or like
that
whole
whole
campaign?
campaign.
Yeah, for sure.
And you look at something that hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
Because when you do it as the first one, Volkswagen did this with the Super Bowl.
They did it with the bug in general, if you want to go real old school.
Yeah, but I mean, they did it with the Super Bowl, which was they didn't do any Super Bowl ads, but they got the most impressions from a Super Bowl because they did the whole Volkswagen. Whenever like a touchdown happened or something like that, they used a hashtag. So they hijacked the entire Super Bowl with a hashtag. So it wasn't Volkswagen. I think it was Volvo. Volvo hijack. Yeah, it was Volvo. And it was like the biggest, like they called it the interception in the Super Bowl, because they looked at, everybody else is just running Super Bowl ads. Let's take those Super Bowl ads and let's just use a hashtag and override them all, and let's not use any ad budget. I think the winner got a car out of it or something. Okay. Their cost for the car is like a couple, like they sold X amount of cars, maybe like a couple $100,000 versus an ad that millions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
And they hijacked the whole thing.
Interesting. I will say Burger King is doing a lot of stuff digitally, especially in video games right now, and I think that I didn't know about that ad campaign. That's really smart.
Yeah.
But I'd like to highlight the not so smart one that they also did recently, which is what they did with the Twitch donations. Do you know about this? Anyone know about this? What happened here? So normally, in order for you would sponsor a streamer, right? That's kind of how ads worked. Like if you wanted your ad read by a Twitch streamer, either you hit someone who's a top streamer and you hope that your ad runs during one of their mid rolls, their 60-second ads, or you just sponsor that streamer and then they have some kind of Burger King logo or something happening in the background, some sort of like how Ninja has the Red Bull refrigerator behind him, Yep. So you have a Whopper just floating in the background. But what Burger King did is they took advantage of a feature in Twitch where if you donate, usually it's $5, but some streamers have it higher than that, but usually it's just $5. If you donate $5, the text that you put in the donation gets read by like an automated robot, right? So what they started doing, instead of sponsoring a streamer that would cost them, I don't know, a few $1,000s, they started a mass campaign where like for a week or 2 weeks, they would just do $5 donations and have an ad read out loud by the robot. So they were like, ooh, they were like, that's a really cool shot that you just like. Sometimes it wouldn't even matter what the game was happening. It was like, oh, it's a really cool shot that you just did right now. Have you thought about taking a shot with like this like 2 for 3 meal at Burger King? Follow the link, but like make sure to go to your local Burger King. All that type of stuff. And like some streamers were like, what the hell are you doing, Burger King? Like that was really weird. But they were like kind of like playful, but like, oh, maybe some people were like, oh, I'm gonna go get some Burger King, but like very clearly that's like skirting on this weird gray zone of like maybe violating FCC guidelines for advertisements. And so yeah, they really cool campaign with the soccer team, or football, if you will.
Well, since we're talking about Burger King, I just remember one more that they did a couple years ago, maybe. I don't know if you guys know about what they did on Twitter with like big influencers. I follow Casey Neistat pretty like closely, and one day he's just like, "What the hell is Burger King doing?" They went back to a post of his like 10 years ago, and they commented on it, and then everyone's just like, "What is going on?" And I think they did it for like a bunch of more influencers and stuff, and as a result, like sales went up. So it's just like.
And they commented all the way back like 10 years on people's posts about a food item that they had on their menu before because they reintroduced it.
That was the chicken fries.
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah, they reintroduced it. So it was
Oh, I do remember that campaign.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So everybody was talking about it. But what we're kind of getting at here is when it comes to digital strategy and digital marketing, there isn't a right and a wrong way to do it. It's about analyzing what are other people doing, what are the trends, and how do I take advantage of that. That's exactly what Burger King has done. That's exactly what Volvo did when it comes to Super Bowl. And it's smart marketing because it's less capital.
Marketing, if you will.
We just make a new term. But it's
do you like that?
Oh, man, we're gonna have a dictionary after we do all these episodes. But
I couldn't tell if Nikhil's look was like, how dare you, or like, I'm really proud of you right now.
It's probably a mixture of both. But yeah. Talking about smart marketing, you got to know the trends that are going on. So the very first thing for trend-wise is on content marketing sites. So content marketing is your social media platforms, your blog writing, it's your email marketing. It's the content you put out there. So as for content marketing, I think the one piece that everybody needs to look at is the audiences on the different social platforms and which ones are winning right now and which ones are dying. So easily to put it, if I was to put the category of dying, Facebook.
A life alert, you know? It's fallen and it cannot get up.
Yes. YouTube also is growing, but it's oversaturated, so it's a difficult platform to say because long format content has struggled a little bit.
The tricky part with YouTube is what's the CEO's name? Susan?
Not sure.
Maybe Susan? I don't know. I was looking her up right now, but she
oh yeah, Susan.
What's her last name?
You could try to pronounce that.
Susan. She basically is starting to realize that like when like the apocalypse happened and like people
I'm not gonna try.
No, Nick, you wanna try it? When the apocalypse happened and a bunch of people started pulling their ads because of all of the weird stuff happening with like the videos centered around children and like all this kind of stuff happening, she made the decision of like there's going to be a lot more stringent rules for ads and a lot of stringent stuff for how sponsored deals are kind of going about this whole thing. So now you have to disclose at any point if you're involved in the company, or else your video is
automatically banned.
Basically, even if you mention it in the video, someone can report report you, and that could technically be a strike on your channel. You get 3 of those and you're done. You're terminated. So YouTube as a whole, and really I think on Susan's kind of word here, are trying to create a system that is foolproof in a way, but what's happening is it's allowing this massive arbitrage of ads that can happen. So like, and no one can take advantage of it because it's really hard to get a really powerful ad on YouTube.
Yeah, so that's definitely one part for your content marketing strategies is looking at what's really going on behind the scenes with their company's decisions, because that kind of ties into the next point, which is younger audiences right now. Instagram still dominates, and it will continue to dominate. But TikTok, we've talked about this so many times already. But TikTok it's one of those things that like you should follow the trend. You should follow the short form content trend, not necessarily buy into TikTok heavy, because TikTok itself see how people are interacting it, see what content people are putting out and engaging with, and use that on other platforms. Don't go all in on TikTok, because there's so many things that are happening behind TikTok all the time that if you put too much effort into it, it might not work, because tomorrow it might get banned again. Then it might not work. Like, all these things might happen. It's a question mark. It's a gray zone.
I mean, I think the key is, like, platform aside, it's more of like who is who is in this generation, and like right now, when we're so like digital first and stuff, like everyone's attention spans are much smaller than what they used to be. So it's like short form content is key these days. Even Google, right? Like, they have Google Stories now,
LinkedIn
which
has LinkedIn Stories too now.
Well, yeah, that's I have questions about that, but yeah, sorry, LinkedIn, I love you, but I don't know.
Be careful. That live is a beta.
Well, you know, I'm using it, so don't get rid of me. Short form content is key. Storytelling is key. You know, on the stuff that you post in your social media, on the stuff that you have on your websites. Videos are huge, just in general. Social media, websites, all forms of marketing and stuff. I think that's what's resonating with people more than just like reading.
But still, you got to make sure that whatever you put into video, you still have to write out, because of search engine optimization, which I'll go into separate. But video is definitely the leading route. But you be careful with it because of how search engines work. If you want your content found, you also have to have a written piece tied into it. As of right now, I mean, trends are going more towards video. So
there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, I think that video is your short-term gain, especially if you have the right EXIF data and metadata behind it. And then blog writing attributed or attached to that video, that's your long-term goal. Like, that's how you get the long-term success. And also understanding, I think, learn about audiences and stuff like that, you know, like understanding not just who the audience of that platform is, but understanding who the big dogs on that platform are and what they kind of attribute. Because at the end of the day, that's kind of the face of the company. Like the top 5 people are the kind of the face. Like,
they
you
make
think
the trend.
Exactly. In gaming, you see, like, at one point the poster child for streaming for Twitch was Ninja, and he still is. I can't imagine what they did to bring him back, but he's back on Twitch now. You know, he went on YouTube for like a week or two, and I'm sure Twitch saw that and went, oh hell no, and like they just tossed money at him or gave him some kind of partnership agreement. So understanding who the top dogs are and seeing if that fits your brand as well, I think is important. Because like if the top player is kind of within your wheelhouse, then that means there's already an audience that you could also kind of fold into your organization as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, definitely look at the top dogs, but look at the top dogs within your area.
Specific,
right? Because there are things that work like on a broad scale, but there are some things that won't necessarily work for your brand, right? So definitely take influence from what other people are doing.
Yeah, I mean, like a simple way to go about this is on Instagram, just put a hashtag or like your industry segment. So if you're a clothing brand, look at other clothing brands, look at the top ones that are trending, look at what they're posting, look at how they're engaging with their audience, look at their captions, look at the content they're putting out there. Don't reinvent the wheel.
Just make it better.
Exactly. Make it more efficient, make it better. So take things that work that other people are doing and just optimize it to what your organization or your messages you're trying to get across. I think that's one really important piece why we're talking about using, like, learning from Google's digital garage.
Google Digital Garage.
I was trying to think what the full name was. But leverage these free educational platforms and then look at influencers and tie those knowledge together, and don't reinvent the wheel. Things work because they work. Don't try to recreate everything from scratch. And that goes into the next point, which is a lot of times people are so focused in on what does it look like on the laptop, what is the experience you have on your laptop. The reality is things are going mobile. We're moving around all the time. We're using our phones more and more. Younger generations are using their phones. Phones computing power is getting so good that you can do majority of the stuff you can do on your laptop on your phone.
What did they say? It was like back when, like, even I think like the iPhone, like the original iPhone, I think it was the original iPhone, but that thing was like 21 times more powerful than the computers that they used in the Apollo 11 missions that got the people to the moon.
That's just crazy.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Yeah.
It's one of the iPhones. It might have been the first iPhone.
Yeah. So I mean, if you put that in consideration, if you're building a digital strategy, you have to look at mobile first. How do I build my strategy around them viewing my content, my ads, my website, my everything on my phone. That's what you need to think of first. That is your primary objective. No matter what business you're doing, what you're trying to do, think of mobile, then start thinking of desktop. Not to say ignore one or the other, but put more emphasis into the mobile experiences that you're creating, because that's the consumer trend right now.
Yeah, and stats show that approximately like 60% of online searches are on mobile too. So, hey, how are we doing?
Some issue with your mic.
This one?
Yeah. I'm gonna pop it in more probably.
It popped in.
We have some technical difficulties.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I'm gonna start ranting about the Lakers for a little
So
bit.
No.
For a second.
Luis covered. Why did you cover the Apple logo with an avocado?
Ah, yes. Let's go ahead and bring that over here real quick. So I covered the Apple logo with an avocado for many reasons. One, I am of descent. I'm Mexican.
Descent.
So avocados are very, very special to me. I grew up eating them, as we all did.
I was gonna say I did too.
I had a good avocado this morning
Did you? I have not
on
eaten,
my bagel.
I have not eaten breakfast yet. No, see, I put it on my tortillas. That's the difference. No, it's honestly like I love avocados, and it's just I had an avocado sticker lying around, and I said, well, where else to put this except for the other fruit that lies on my computer, and that was over the Apple thing. The only crappy part about it is this is an old MacBook, so
It is.
the Apple, thank you. The Apple is still illuminated on this one, unlike your newer one. For some reason, they removed the illumination.
It looks pretty cool.
Sure. It's not illuminated anymore. So in the dark, it bleeds through.
You're good. Okay.
So you'll still see the Apple logo saturating itself through the avocado.
So long story short, Luis likes avocados. I also ate an avocado and an apple today. All right.
Okay, congratulations.
Continue.
Let's go back into this. So, I mean, going back into the mobile first, the reason why we're bringing that up is when you're building your digital strategy, you have to think of how can I make these mobile experiences, and especially on website development. I think this is the make it or break it when you choose how you're making your website.
Yeah.
So obviously, when you're getting started building your website, you're most likely going to use Squarespace, GoDaddy, Wix, some of these easy to build tools, which is perfectly fine. That's usually where you should start because that they have pre-made templates and you can build a website that functions, works, does its job.
Yep.
But where our issue came up when it came to Wix, when it's looking at these other platforms, is the mobile responsive design.
Yep.
How to make it look amazing on your phone. So I guess the question goes to you is, what would your recommendation be to anybody who's starting to build their digital strategy? They're looking at their current website. They're like, all right, our website looks all right on our desktop, but it looks like complete garbage on mobile.
Yep.
What should they do?
So, what I recommend, use the WordPress platform. It can definitely be intimidating at first, but I think it's just a bit of a learning curve. Might take a day or two to kind of like figure out what's going on, and that's normal with like anything, right? You're about to build your business after all, so there's a bit of a learning curve. My second recommendation would be to use the Elementor plugin. That takes the best of Wix and Squarespace as like drag and drop. What you see is what you get, but is a lot more advanced. You can do a lot more with it, and you can pretty easily do your responsive design. Make sure your websites look good on mobile, on tablet, on any screen size. So those two together pretty much take the best of both worlds, where WordPress is a lot more advanced, more customizable, more secure, more scalable. If you like need to grow if your business, as your business grows and stuff, and you need to like just have more pages, more images, more just stuff to handle. So yeah, definitely recommend starting there. Plenty of YouTube tutorials online. Template monsters, or I guess that's more advanced, so don't start there, but don't start there. Just search like how to use Elementor and stuff. They have a fantastic YouTube channel, Instagram page and everything. And yeah, anything else that you want to add there?
I guess my question would be for those that are on Wix and Squarespace, and they don't want to change right now because it's a hard jump to then build out a platform on WordPress. Where should they get started to kind of hone in? I mean, my recommendation, obviously, start with my favorite YouTube. I mean, just start with that and how to make mobile responsive websites on Wix. My second recommendation, if you can't do it yourself, hire a professional to do that. That's a good investment. The reason why I'm saying that's a good investment, a lot of times building a website, it's expensive. Like you might pay $1,500, you may pay $5,000, you might pay up to $50,000 to $100,000. But the reality is, one, you get to write off your taxes. It's an expense for your business. Yeah. So there's actually less cost to your business than you perceive. And the second part is if you have a professional make it, as long as they do it correctly, you have a scalable platform for the long term, and you're saving a lot of headaches. You're saving time.
It's just peace of mind.
Peace of mind. And as a business professional, it's easier to invest your capital to create value for your organization versus trying to learn it on your own.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if step one, I would say try to watch YouTube videos and Google and see if you can figure it out and practice around with it.
Yep.
If it's too difficult and you see yourself spending too much time, hire a professional to do it. They'll do it faster and more cost effectively because every hour you're putting into building out your platform, and if it doesn't look good at the end of the day as well, is money that you could be making from other activities in your business.
Yeah. And I mean, to quote the very popular Tim Ferriss, WordPress has the best out of the box SEO of all of the platforms. And that's something that it's just great. You don't have to worry worry about SEO, worry about it, think about it, and implement it. But if you are someone who's just getting started and you go the route that Nikhil mentioned with, using Elementor and making sure that you're creating something that can be mobile optimized, you might as well also be getting something where maybe you're not spending an enormous amount of time on it, but you're just kind of putting your H1s and all this stuff. And that automatically with WordPress gets...
What's an H1, Luis?
It's a header
Tag.
There you go. That's what gets read first.
Okay, how about we do this?
Not get too complicated here.
We're not going to get too complicated, but for those that are listening, what search engine optimization is think of your Google, and when you write in something, what is the first company that pops up? That's what you want to do for search engine optimization, is answering those questions that people might have. So where's the nearest museum? What is the best place to get coffee? Haircuts near me. You have to answer those questions that people have and build it out into your content. So when you're building out the simplest way, I'm not going to go into all the different sections of SEO, but the simplest thing to do is make sure on your website, if there's a certain word or phrase you want to rank for, it needs to be in your title. So the very first thing that Google reads, which is called an H1 tag, and that's the first title you have. And the same phrase or word needs to be in the first paragraph. So the first section of written content on your webpage, it also needs to say it. By having those two at least, and then trickling that word consistent throughout the webpage, and having at least 350 words on that webpage will allow you to rank. I'm not going to guarantee you're going to be first page. Depends on how competitive the keyword is, but you'll rank. So that's at least where to start with SEO. To go into more details, we are going to build out some resource packets for people on some of the stuff we're talking about here and some courses on them. But definitely start with, once again, YouTube University. That's a good place to get started. And Neil Patel, he's one of those iconic people in SEO that I watch a lot of his videos. He's a good place to start. Watch Neil Patel video. For
his
SEO.
newsletter is really good too.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. And then the last trend that right now is happening that you really do need to pay attention to is storytelling. As I brought up before, when it comes to contagious steps, storytelling is a very, very key piece. And I think this is where businesses tend to mess up the most, is that when they make a website or a digital strategy or messaging on their social media platforms, all they're doing is saying exactly what their product or service is, and that's it. There's nothing behind it. There's nothing that drives interest.
Yep.
Because if you're making a product or a service, one example we can put in here is a JBiz Barbershop. As we're co-owners of JBiz Barbershop, a barbershop is pretty simple, right? You go to a barbershop, you want to get a haircut. That's why you go to a barbershop. And you want to get a good quality haircut. You're not going to Supercuts for a reason. But the thing is, a barbershop by itself, there's a lot of barbershops.
Yep.
How do you differentiate in a market when everybody's a barbershop?
Yeah. So why should I go to JBiz?
Why? And you have to answer that question, the why. And when you're doing storytelling, I think that this is what really differentiates the good businesses from the I have a business.
Yep.
You drive the why your business exists and the story behind customer experiences, what it meant to get that haircut and what happened afterwards. They just got that job that they were dreaming of. They just went to the wedding. It's the storytelling behind why they got the haircut.
Yep.
The atmosphere inside of the shop. Having, once again, going back to JBiz, having barbers that speak different languages. because that shows the community effect, showing the variety of individuals that come into the shop, making sure it's an open community, that it doesn't feel like it's super hardcore masculine and you come in there and drink your whiskeys and have your cigars and you get your haircut. Like, there are a lot of barbershop that push that route.
Yeah.
But this is, once again, if you build a story around it, now it becomes more than just a barbershop. It becomes a community space where you can come and hang out, you can get a haircut, and that's what drives business. So storytelling is so underrated in a lot of ways, because people are like, they don't care about my story. Well, people do. And once again, going back into
That's all they care about.
That's all they care about. That's why Nike is Nike. Like,
That's why Apple is Apple.
exactly. I mean, obviously their quality is there when it comes to their products and services, but by that by itself would not sell what it is.
No.
Because if you sell something for high quality, or you sell something for functionality, great. That's fine. But if you don't have a story behind it, it's gonna be hard to have audiences buy into that idea and build it out.
It's also, you think about like this, like Bear Dynamics and Bose. Bear Dynamics, absolutely better than Bose in every way, shape, and form. But Bose has storytelling. So Bear Dynamics, if you know, you know. It's one of those things. If you want quality, you go like Klish, Bear Dynamics, all these kind of brands.
Audio Technica.
Audio Technica. You go to Edge, you know. You go to these.
No,
kind of,
we're purposely going the other route. So we're gonna make, when we go consumer facing, it'll be storytelling. Don't worry, because you guys are helping me with that. So
sure. So, but it's like,
Give me a look.
But then you have Bose. I'm so tired. Then you have Bose, and then you have like Beats. You have like these people who have more mass adoption because they're telling a story.
Yep.
There's a story behind it. There's brand appeal.
how much does for example, to your point, how much does Beats headphones actually cost to make?
Probably like $10, 10, 12, no more than $20 to make like a $300 pair of headphones.
It's $13.
Yeah.
$300 pair of headphones.
For the studios, for the studio wireless. Yeah, I mean that's. Whereas you go to like Sennheiser, like a nice, like an HD 650, like that like they cost, I think those cost $300 or $400, but it probably costs them about $100 to make that thing.
At least, yeah.
Because of all the drivers, it's open back, it's like it's a really good headset. But at the end of the day, if you know, you know. Like,
Exactly.
You know, it's, if you know that Sennheiser, Bear Dynamics, Klish, Audio Technica, all these people are making really high quality stuff, then you go that route because you say, I want high quality stuff. But if you just say, I want a pair of headphones, and then you look up headphones, and then you see like the story behind Beats, story behind Bose, and now at this point, you're also getting the story behind Sony. Sony was kind of a nobody, and then their XM, what's the model name for them again?
Let me pull it up.
Yeah, their noise canceling headphones are like groundbreaking, like for the price and how they're competing with Bose. The way that they kind of work though was like they just made a really good product and kind of put it out there, and then and then people found them, and then they were the ones who kind of spoke it down to the masses, and then people started buying them, you know. So yeah, it's if you know, you know, but storytelling, I think, is a thing that you have to focus on a lot. You know, it's a thing that is the differentiating factor between me having these brand ambassadors that don't even know that they're brand ambassadors, and you having just people who shop for you and they buy one product every 10 years, a la the high end, like actual technically better kind of brands, you know. But if you have these people who are constantly just like, oh yeah, I bought a pair of like studio wirelesses because it came with my laptop for free, kind of thing, you know, like, and I like them because they're really good. Now they automatically, you've now created a forever customer where if they need a pair of workout headphones, guess what, you sell those too. If their child, if their niece, if their cousin needs a pair of headphones, guess what, you get them the Solo wireless. Here you go, happy birthday. It's storytelling is make or break when it comes down to it at the end of the day, and people I think forget that a lot. And I mean, you know this, Val, working at Edge, you were at this, and this is me bringing up Edge, believe it or not, because it's a good point, but it's like, you know this, like, what was the pushback in marketing when it was like you versus the engineers, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's always the biggest thing when it comes to building a new technology, is that engineers want to make it perfect.
They want to showcase the technical.
They want to show the technical side. They want to make it function, but people don't buy into that. They don't buy into technology. They buy into the benefits and what you provide to them, the experience you can provide to them. which is right now, which we're kind of honing in on as we're finalizing our product development before we start our small batch manufacturing, is really fine-tuning that experience side. So we're going to be working with gamers to really fine-tune that audio experience that is exactly what they want, not what engineers want, not what the technical side is, but hitting home on that front, because just because it can be perfect and technically advanced, it might cost too much for a consumer to want to buy it. It might, consumers might not care. They might just want that extra benefit, and that's it. That's all they care about. So that's, I think, an important thing for small businesses in your digital strategy. Emphasize your benefits, emphasize the story. Don't focus on your technology, and don't focus on the technical aspects of what you do. Hone in on the experiences you can provide. We're in an experiential market now, and that's changed all because of laptops and smartphones and technology increasing. So really hone in on that. And I think that perfectly, I'm a little tired too, I guess, Luis. But that perfectly goes into the next topic, which is like leveraging community to do this effect. Mm-hmm. So if you're building a small business, especially even a startup, your community wants to support you. And it's really important that you hone in on leveraging that community to create that effect. So if you want to build out a strong story behind it, you should get your community to be involved in that story. So do you guys have any advice for anybody to how to get started with community, like partnerships or community events or anything that they can do to enhance their digital strategy and brand?
Yes. I have two. So one is network your butt off. I know it's hard right now, but a lot of things that would be in person are going virtual. Mm-hmm. It might not be the best way to do it. It might not be the might not be the optimal way to do it. But it right now is the only way to do it. So you have to be able to go online, network with people within your industry, figure out where you fit within the community as well. I think is a big thing that not a lot of people think about. It's this sort of question you have to ask yourself. I'm starting a business in this city, in this area. For us, it's Inland Empire. Do we fit here?
Yeah.
You know, it's are we a good fit for this area, or should we go venture out somewhere else? I think what ends up happening a lot with businesses is they don't understand that. They don't understand that the way that they're offering, maybe not what they're offering, but the way that they're offering it doesn't fit for their community. Mm-hmm. And they have to be able to look at their community and not think of themselves as above the community, nor should they think of themselves below the community. They should think of themselves as a part of the community, which I think is why we're seeing the success that we're seeing. Is we don't look at ourselves above, nor do we look at ourselves below. We want to be a part of the Inland Empire community, and we want to see it thrive. That's, I think, a big reason why we're seeing the success that we're seeing. So yeah, networking, understanding your place and whether or not you fit in the community. And then on top of that is really just creating I want to say a safety net is the first thing I want to say, but like here, like at FLM, right? Like for the most part, us three, we're constantly communicating with each other. So we're constantly each other's safety nets of like, hey, how's this thing looking? What's this thing looking like? Can we get on a quick chat? Can we do this? What's your progress with this project? What's your progress with that project? Where are you guys? How are you feeling? Like, it's not just, are you doing X, Y, and Z? It's how are you feeling right now? Like, it's having a group of people, whether it's just one other person for accountability sake or just emotional sake, or having a group of, 2 people, 4 people, whatever your size is, whatever you're comfortable with, having a group of people that can be your go-to people. Be like, hey, I'm really struggling with this right now, and I want to talk to someone about it. Yeah. And having them be all ears, I think is an important thing that also gets not talked about enough. Is like when you're doing entrepreneur stuff, when you're doing business in general, when you're starting a startup, there's a lot of highs and there's a lot of lows.
Yep.
And having a group of people you can be completely transparent with is critical. Like you do not want to suffer in silence when it comes to this kind of stuff. Have your community, whether that's really big, whether that's really small, have them there.
Yep.
Yeah. To build off of both of those points, so for networking, right, I think LinkedIn, of course, is a fantastic tool, right? If you're trying to, for example, build within the Inland Empire and stuff, you can find leaders within the Inland Empire just by searching on LinkedIn. And I think like the search engine within the platform has recently improved, so it's even easier to find the people you're looking for. Everyone's location is on there, positions, school history, all of that stuff is there. So all you have to do is search a few keywords and then send a personalized message and a connection request, reach out for a call, and then go from there.
Yep.
And I've heard so many success stories just from that. The second point, I think leveraging community within your own business and startup, like you were saying, is so key. I think one thing, it's been a month and a half or so since I've taken this on full time, and one thing I realized that's really pushing me forward is the fact that we're building this team, right? It's not just us individually, it's all of us, and we're doing this together. And so it's a really, I guess, beautiful and comforting feeling that it's like we have each other and we have each other's back no matter what's happening, right? And just seeing everyone grow at the same time too is like super awesome. We've been doing this for 2.5 years, so everyone's grown in some way or another in tremendous ways. So yeah,
absolutely. And yeah, I mean, to tie off both your points, don't be afraid to ask for help. Reach out. Don't ever feel like you have
That's
to
a big one.
don't feel like you have to go at things alone. When we're talking about community, it doesn't have to just be your local community. It's a bigger community. LinkedIn communities, your friend communities, your friend groups. Ask for help. I mean, if you're building an organization, a company, don't feel like you have to do everything alone. Ask for advice. Ask for help. Get guidance. Ask those that have done it before. And listen. You don't have to take everybody's advice as kind of like that's the best way to do it, but ask around, because it's going to allow you to think and allow you to create more opportunities for yourself. And what we're going to finish it off with is for startups, small businesses, individuals that want to get into digital marketing and digital strategy, how should they get started? And then what are the must-dos? We already kind of talked about resources they can have. So, quickly, actually, resources, then we'll go into how they can get started and then what the must-dos are. Because resources-wise, right now, because of COVID-19, there are a bunch of grants specifically targeted towards helping marketing activities. Go through all the grants and see what you apply for. Grants are fantastic because it doesn't dilute your business anyway. You're not losing equity anyway, and it'll help support these activities. Digital strategy is an essential piece of your company. You need to do it. So if you don't have the financial resource to do it right now, look for grants, look for opportunities so that you can afford it, because you need it to have your business thrive heading into 2021. If you don't have a digital strategy, it'll be a hard year. And that's the unfortunate truth behind it. So how to get started. So for those that are interested in learning about digital marketing, we talked about a lot of the stuff you can already do. Do courses, read books, practice, do pro bono work for some companies, learn these skill sets. But as for small businesses and startups, where you should really get started is see what you can do now yourself and hire out. You can hire consultants, you can hire businesses to support you in different areas and creating budgets, but you can also leverage freelancers. You can use things like Fiverr, you can use things like Upwork, but you need to know what you're asking for. So for example, let's say that you need help with blog writing. Find a copywriter that might live out of the country, in the country, but you can use things like Upwork and get a writer. Do what you do best by yourself and hire out. That would be my where to get started if you're a small business, because you have to design this plan that we're talking about. So write out your objectives for the year. I would put quarterly objectives. This quarter I want to hit this. This quarter I want to hit this. Write out all the activities you think you need to do for that. See what you personally can do yourself and see if others can support you, or then get a professional consultant to help you design this strategy. As I stated, you need a digital strategy heading into 2021. If you don't have one, it is going to be a hard year. Do you guys have any other things to add to where or how individuals or companies should get started?
I think to Nikhil's point, reach out on LinkedIn to people as far as like getting started. I'm almost certain that you are not the first, nor will you be the last person to start a business. Probably not even within your own specific idea that you have, for the most part, ballpark, you know? So reach out to other people who have done it. Reach out to people who are doing it. For the most part, there are some business owners that are like, I will never talk to somebody who's within my competitive sphere.
Yeah.
I think that's really short-sighted, and I think that's a bad take, but you got to respect them for what they do, you know? But reach out to those who are willing to help. Reach out to those who are willing to recognize that at one point they were also in infancy and they grew their business and they're willing to help other people out. Reach out to them, because the mistakes that they've made and the mistakes that you can learn from without having to do them yourselves, you can't put a price tag on that.
Yep. Absolutely. Completely echo you guys. Nothing more to add there.
Okay. Then I'll pose this next question to you then specifically, which is, what are the small business must-dos? Right? So we're talking about, this is where you get started, you write your digital strategy, work with consultants. But what are like must-dos? They have to have this going into next year. If they don't have it, their digital strategy is going to suffer.
Digital presence for one, right? Like just in general, right? Start with a website. If you don't have one, right? And if you do have one, then make sure, like we said, it's mobile optimized. Website's key because then that goes into SEO. And then you talked about SEO already. So,
but they need to Google My Business. That's
and
actually,
you need that too.
I actually didn't bring that up in
Yelp,
SEO.
Google My Business, all of them.
You need
Facebook.
The second you make your website and you have your company, you need to set up a Google My Business and optimize it.
Yep.
That's local SEO, and that's how local people
Yep.
are going to find you, review you, and build out your presence on Google.
Yes.
Yep.
Do that immediately if you don't have one.
If you're a barbershop and you want people to, if you want to be on the top of barbershops near me, you need to Google My Business,
You
right?
need it. So some people, like if you're running an at-home business, like an e-commerce platform or something like that, create one. Like
You can hide your location.
Yeah, you can hide your location. A lot of people get scared when Google My Business asks them for an address. Put your house. Put your house on there, and then you can hide the location.
Yeah, you can put region serving, so you can change your address to the region you're serving. So
Yeah,
definitely
all they need an address for is to send you the verification
that
card,
you're an actual business.
that you're an actual business. That's all they need the address for. You can hide it. You just can't use a PO box.
Yep.
Yeah. So website, SEO, Google My Business, potentially Yelp, yes.
Depending on who you are and what you're doing.
Depending on who you are or what you do. Leverage LinkedIn, like we said, reach out to people, have a company page there. Use social media, but use it wisely.
Yes.
This isn't really a must do, but a recommendation, but start a podcast. Talk about what you're doing, and have fun with it, have open-ended conversations, but always link it back to your business. That's a great marketing tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have anything else to add?
No, I think, again, look at your business and look at what other people are doing.
Yep.
And then do that. If you're a restaurant, there's oh my goodness, your checklist of platforms you need to be on, especially right now, is massive. If you have to be on DoorDash, Uber Eats, on Instacart, like it's massive. But you get it. You take a week, you get yourself on every single one of the platforms, you get yourself set up. You're just going to be setting yourself up for success. If you are a restaurant owner right now and you are not on these platforms, yes, you're taking a 30% cut. That sucks. But would you rather sell something for 30% less or sell nothing? It's then that's the really crappy truth of it. These people are using these platforms, and some services are giving you really good offers to use these services. Now, if you're a barbershop, really, Google My Business is kind of where it's at. Yelp to some extent for barbers as well. Those are kind of platforms you need to do. If you're an e-commerce platform, you don't need a Yelp. You might not even need a Google My Business. You just need a really killer website with really good SEO.
You actually, if you have an e-commerce store, make a Google My Business, because they now have your products and offers. You can
the Google Shopping.
You can actually create it on Google Shop. You can have it as a carousel. Definitely use it to the fullest extent. And the only other thing I would say for a must do that heading into 2021, have an approach to using Pinterest. If you have anything that's visual format, Pinterest is growing dramatically.
Yep.
Then also understand how Facebook ads work and understand how Google ads work. Facebook ads are getting more and more expensive by the day. So there would be a time when it's not worth it anymore. It still is worth it. But you need to understand how to use them. Yep. So that's definitely, I would say that is absolute must do's.
Yeah, like don't just say, here's a geographic circle. That should do it.
Yeah.
Don't just do that.
25 miles from my business. I'm going to run some ads here. That's it.
Who? Gender? Yes.
Age? Yes.
Yes, correct as well.
But yeah, so that's it when it comes to digital strategy and how to dominate in 2021. If anybody has any specific questions from what we talked about, feel free to email us. Our emails, we'll put it into the description on this video, because I was about to go through them, but I was like, that's going to be too long.
It's just our first names and at Free Logic Media.
Yeah.
So if you want to email, if you want to ping us directly,
And DM us on the social platforms. We're more than happy to answer any questions tied into digital strategy, or having exploration calls that we have with every potential client we have, just to talk about what you're doing as a business and how to grow. But now going to the last part of this show for today. We always end with a failure story. So over the last 6 weeks, we've gone through different failure stories. So I started the first failure story. We had Nikhil present his. We've had our guests share theirs. Now it's time for your failure story, Luis.
Finally.
And I'm very excited to hear
I got really lucky. I got really lucky when the kill went because it was like I was like, "You're doing it," and he was like, "Okay, I'll do it." And then we had a bunch of guests, so I was just like sitting back like,
Were you just
It's-
stalling? You just didn't want to do it?
I didn't know. It's not that I didn't want to do it. It's more just like I just got really lucky with like the timing where I didn't have to worry about it. So like today, I literally forgot about that. I'm doing the failure story today until I was looking at the doc right now. And at the very bottom, it now says
I wrote
failure.
it, yeah.
Did you?
I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
don't forget.
Yeah. Thank you. Because so now
Your turn.
my turn finally. So I'm gonna close it because it's gonna actually I'm gonna put it down on the ground because Twitch is still streaming. Yeah. So please stop me if you've heard this one before.
No, please.
Um,
Spill it all out.
So my failure story is centered around my kind of time in education and the way that kind of goes about. So real quick, in high school, not a good, like I was bad. Like I was not good whatsoever. It wasn't that I was hanging out with the wrong crowd. It was just I just didn't care about school. So I ended up graduating bottom 50th percentile in high school. Not really any like forward momentum there either when I graduated. It was more so just like, well, I guess now I kind of exist and I no longer have to really go to school if I don't want to. But I still chose to go to community college because it's kind of the thing that you do. I didn't do it because I wanted to. I did it because it's something I felt like I had to do. So I did that. I went in for computer science because I figured I'm good at math and I like computers. I love playing computer games. Maybe this could be a future for me. I like building computers, doing stuff like that, you know? So I went for that. I finished, funny enough, I did really well in the math. I finished calculus, finished that whole series. So I could transfer over to for a university. But when it came down to like language arts and all these kind of things, I just didn't have any interest in it. Like the math was really the only thing. So I ended up failing all of my classes that weren't math. And I got put on academic probation, kind of really mirroring high school, where it was that whole, you're here because you have to be here and you're not here because you want to be here. It was around that time that my family was also going through some financial hardships. So I just said, screw it. I'm just going to leave school. It's not working out for me anyways, so I'm just going to go. So I left and I started working full-time as a sales rep for what basically is like, it's called Curaçao, but it's basically like the Mexican Best Buy was the joke that I always said. And they still had like commission-based sales there. So I was making decent money when I started going full-time there because I was meeting monthly quotas and all that good stuff. I worked there for about a year and a half. About a year and a half. And it got to the point where like as time went, my family's situation got better, and then I started working there just to work there. Like I was just full-time there. And it started to hit me in this weird kind of like, oh, I'm not doing anything with my life right now. I'm gonna die old in this working a sales job. And I went through like a really bad fit of depression because of it. Like really like bad, like, where the only time I would get up out of bed was either to play video games that was right at the foot of my bed, my computer was there, or it was to go to work. As soon as I'd get back home, I'd just go right back into bed and just veg out, you know? I was in a really bad spot. So I had to make the decision mentally with myself. Either I stay in this bad spot that I know is bad, or I make the decision to just completely remove myself from the situation that I'm in right now and hopefully put myself in a better position. Because I mean, the alternative to that was depression. And I mean, depending on how that goes, there's a lot of ways where it could escalate to even worse things. So I made the decision to be good to me, to care about myself, and I just quit. I put in my 2 weeks, and I left that job in December, and I enrolled in Valley College again. I enrolled this time though with like this mentality of like, I'm not gonna go work on one specific thing. I'm gonna try to figure myself out. I'm gonna try to go for a lot of different things and see what fits me and where I kind of fall in place. So the first thing I went to was music theory. So I ended up doing music theory because I played the guitar, I could play some piano, I played drums. I was basically the one-man band, my friends, because I could play all instruments in a very like basic level, and then piano and guitar I could play it at a decent level. so I was like, okay, I'm good at instruments. I'll just go do music theory. I started doing that. It was fine, but it never really clicked with me. Like I think it was the people, honestly. Like I liked the music part of it. I liked the theory. But it was like the other students that I was going through it with were just like, I don't really mesh well with them. There's some people that I clicked with, but other people that, for the majority of people, it was like they were just okay, you know? So after doing some soul searching for about a year, I realized like, well, I need to graduate. I can't just be at Valley College forever. So I was like, screw it. I'm just going to go back to computer science. Maybe this time I'm going to do a little bit better in language arts. And it was my first semester back fully invested into computer science. And I was going to a language arts class and I ran into a friend of mine, David, who was also a CS major at the time. Well, last time I met him, he was a CS major. And we were just like chatting outside of class before it started. And he was telling me that he left CS to go do business. And I was like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. When's that? And he told me the time and he told me to come join him. So I went, I sat in on an introduction to business class at Valley College taught by Michael Asuma. And I like immediately fell in love with it. Like the dude, Michael, Professor Asuma.
Dude, Michael.
Professor Asuma, all he did was tell stories and make jokes and cuss. That was it. And like to me, I was like, the minute that like I heard him cuss mid lecture, I'm not saying like he's not saying like a hard like F word or anything like that. Like even just like words that you would never hear in academia normally, like especially when I was doing CS, you know, or music theory, any of that stuff. It's words that you wouldn't hear, and it's just like, oh my goodness, like it's like this dude's talking to me like I'm an actual human being and not a student. And that for me was what I loved, is that kind of equal playing field where like it seems like this guy's not teaching you anything, but then like at like the last 15 minutes of class, he finishes his story and he says, okay, how does that then connect to these marketing theories? And then he breaks it down. I go, oh my god, yeah, that absolutely is how you would get there. So right after that class, I didn't go to my CS class. I went to my counselor and I said, I want to do business full on. And I thankfully I got transferred over to business fully. And after that, I think my GPA went from like a 2.1 or 2.2 up to like, I ended up leaving Valley with like a 3.8. Because I loved it. Like, and it's weird, like what happens. It's weird that like, it wasn't just like that I loved business, but like when I started getting into that, I started saying, okay, now I have to do really good in English and in writing, because if I don't do good in that, then I can't do anything with the business stuff that I'm learning. So that puts a fire under your butt to like be like, okay, now I have to be good at everything so I can be really good at this one thing. And every grade started going up. It wasn't just my business grades that went up. It was my writing grades, my public speaking grades, like all these grades started getting straight A's in. And it let me go to UCR with a full ride, thankfully. Like that's, you know, it gets brought up a few times, but I was thankful enough to go to UCR and get the degree without having to take on any debt whatsoever, which I'm really grateful for. And I attribute it partially because like I loved business so much, you know, like, and that's the thing. It's like my failure story is one of knowing that I was in a bad spot at one point, and to me I was a failure, like personally, like looking back at who I was then, I can very proudly call myself a failure then. And I'm not trying to hide away from that, because I was not doing the thing that I loved. I was instead focusing on monetary things, short-term happiness. And that is a failure in my kind of way of looking at things. But now I'm doing something that I love. I'm working with people who I admire, in a lot of ways. And I'm helping give back in some way, shape, or form. Like all the things that are like really empowering to me and really help me be happy on a day-to-day basis, or things that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis here. I was a failure then because I wasn't being true to myself, and I'm not a failure now. At least I don't think so. I'm not a failure now because I'm doing the things that I love to do. on a day-to-day basis, and that's like, what more can you ask for, you know?
Yeah, it's a wild story because you wouldn't know that talking to you. So I think that's the very important part about talking about failure and celebrating where people go to and how they evolve and grow as a person, is because if anybody saw you today, they would never have thought of you as being a bad student. I mean, we're talking about getting our PhDs. Like you're not going to consider that you were a bad student back in the day. A lot of people probably would assume you were that straight A student back in high school and your route to college and what you want to do afterwards. But it really shows that it's so important to find your passions around what you want to do and take that time when you're in failure to reflect and be self-aware and find, like what we talked about is like happiness should be your guiding light. You should follow what makes you happy, because that's long-term gain out of whatever you're doing versus the short-term monetary gain that you might be getting from different activities.
Absolutely. And I attribute, if there was one thing that I can hope, that if you are in a position where you are for some reason just there's a general sadness in your life, I think what separates people who stick with the sadness and people who instead choose to stare into the pit of darkness and try to see what it is that's holding them back is introspection. Being able to actually look into the void and say, like, why am I sad? Why am I not happy with where I am? That's something that came for me through journaling, through meditation, meditation at first, awful, hated it, because you sit there and you like, okay, I'm going to close my eyes, I'm going to sit on this pillow on the ground, and I'm going to just think about nothing. And then what ends up happening is you think about everything. Like everything that you could ever think about in your life is then just there. And that is the noise that you need to introspect on. That is the noise that when you're done meditating, you journal. What did I hear in my head? Like what was the things that were kind of happening? Nowadays, my meditation is a little bit different. I meditate by running. So when I run in the morning, I listen to classical music because there's no words. It's just sound. My brain completely turns off and I'm just running. That is my one action. Some people sit down and they breathe and they focus on their breath. I instead focus on my cadence and my gait when I run. That's how I meditate. There's a million ways to do it. Don't just think it's sitting on a pillow on the ground, listening to yourself scream in your own head.
That's super cool, actually.
Yeah.
I never heard of meditation that way, or I might have, but like the classical music is really interesting. So yeah, man, great story. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Super powerful, and glad you could be here with us, man. Like I think that story, I think all of our stories, right? Like they have somehow led to this point, right? So yeah, super awesome.
Yeah, I'd like to apologize to all of my high school teachers, who man, because I was bad. I was not good. The one person that comes out to me is Miss Bludder. I apologize for cheating on my ceramics final, and yeah, dude, I was bad, and I thank you for still giving me a C in the class, even though you told me that you should fail me. I don't know if she's gonna get in trouble for saying that, but it was my senior year, and I was really good friends with this girl named Amy, who was she was so good at ceramics, so good. And I said, hey Amy, I'm gonna be honest with you. Can you just do my ceramics final? And she did. She was so good that she finished her beautiful ceramics final and still has time to do mine. And I'll never forget when I was working on it, and Miss Bludder comes up behind me and says, isn't that Amy's? And I said, I'm gonna look, Miss Bludder, I'm gonna give it to you straight. I told Amy to make this for me, and she said, you know I should fail you, right? And I said, yeah, you probably should. And she said, but I like you, so I'm gonna give you a C in the class. Like she told, like it was 2 weeks before class was over, and she told me dead ass what she was gonna give me. She was like, I'm gonna give you a C in the class. So I was like, okay, well, at least I'm gonna graduate.
Yeah, shout out to all the teachers that don't take things for granted, as in like this is the hardcore, this is your grade, but actually give you opportunities to push forward, because that gives you the next opportunity to move forward and not felt held back. So I think that's a great thing to come from teachers and professors. But yeah, I mean, it is crazy to hear that all our stories really is that got us together, and that's where we're all here. If we didn't fail, all of us didn't fail, and our stories that we provided, we would not be here today. So failure is something worth celebrating because it means as long as you take it as a chance to learn and reflect and push forward, it is a time to evolve as a human being and move forward to get closer to that success of whatever you define it as. But yeah, that's it for today's Brew Show. Definitely follow us on all our social platforms, Free Logic Media, YouTube, LinkedIn, our Instagram. Once again, if you're watching us through the Twitch stream, make sure to follow us. We're pushing to become an affiliate, and then we're going to push forward from there. A lot of exciting news will be coming out in the next couple of weeks as we build out on this platform. But as of right now, I think this is a good time for us to transition over to the overrated, underrated.
Make sure to go vote.
And
vote.
go vote.
Go vote.
We're going to say this for every single episode until Election Day. Go vote.
Please vote.
Yep.